Are you finding that a simple flight of stairs now feels like a monumental climb? Do you feel a sense of hesitation or a lack of confidence in your own legs? A feeling that they might not support you as they once did? For millions of people over the age of 60, this experience is a quiet, daily reality. It is often dismissed as just another unavoidable part of getting older. But I am here to tell you that this belief is not only wrong, it is dangerous. A significant portion of this decline is not inevitable. In fact, what you choose to eat for your very first meal of the day has the power to either accelerate this downward spiral or begin to powerfully reverse its course, with measurable changes starting in as little as 24 hours. The choice is truly yours. My name is Charles Wilson. For over 40 years, my entire professional life has been dedicated to the field of geriatric medicine, focusing on the health, vitality, and independence of our aging population. I have seen firsthand in thousands of patients how the right knowledge, applied consistently, can fundamentally alter the trajectory of aging. What we are discussing today is a condition called sarcopenia. It is a medical term, but its meaning is simple: the gradual age-associated loss of muscle mass, strength, and function. The surprising truth that I want to share with you is how a strategic approach to your breakfast can become your most powerful weapon in this fight. What I am about to explain is not a fad or a temporary diet. It is a fundamental principle of human physiology that can help you reclaim the strength and confidence you may have thought were lost forever. To truly grasp the importance of this, you must first understand what your muscles really are. They are far more than just the tissues that allow you to move. Your muscle is a critical, metabolically active endocrine organ system. It is your body's primary reservoir for amino acids, the essential building blocks needed for everything from healing a wound to mounting a proper immune defense. Your muscles are a key regulator of your blood sugar, acting like a large sponge that soaks up glucose from your bloodstream after a meal, protecting you from the damaging effects of high blood sugar. They protect your joints, acting as natural shock absorbers for your hips, knees, and spine. They even communicate directly with your brain and other organs by releasing chemical messengers called myokines. When muscle tissue breaks down, it is not a silent process. It sets off a cascade of negative consequences throughout the body. Your metabolism slows down, making weight gain easier and fat loss harder. Your balance begins to decline as the fast-twitch muscle fibers responsible for quick, corrective movements are often the first to go. This dramatically increases your risk of falls, and for an older adult, a fall can easily lead to a fracture, a loss of independence, and a sharp decline in overall health. Research has shown that after the age of 60, an individual can lose up to 1% of their total muscle mass every single year unless they take decisive, corrective action. This is the physiological reality of sarcopenia. But here is the hopeful news, grounded in solid science. You can interrupt this process. You can stop the decline and begin to rebuild. The key lies in understanding a concept known as muscle protein synthesis. Think of it as the master switch inside your muscle cells that turns on the building and repair process. This switch is most responsive, most ready to be activated in the morning. After a night of fasting while you sleep, your body is in what we call a catabolic state. It has been breaking down tissues, including a small amount of muscle protein, to fuel essential functions. Your first meal of the day is the critical signal that tells your body to stop this breakdown and start rebuilding. If you get this morning signal right, you shift your entire physiology from a state of muscle breakdown into a state of muscle building. If you get it wrong, with a breakfast high in simple carbohydrates like toast, cereal, or fruit juice, you miss this crucial window. Instead, you create an environment of high blood sugar and high insulin, which suppresses your body's ability to burn fat and leaves your muscles starved for the nutrients they need to grow. The foundation of getting it right comes down to one crucial macronutrient: protein. However, What most people, and even many health professionals, fail to appreciate is that after the age of 60, the rules for protein change. Many older adults may believe they are getting enough protein by having some meat or eggs with their dinner. But this pattern, with a light carbohydrate-heavy breakfast and a large protein dose at night, actively contributes to sarcopenia. The reason for this lies in a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. As we age, our muscle cells become less sensitive to the stimulating effects of protein. It is as if the switch for muscle protein synthesis becomes a bit harder to flip. A small dose of protein, say 10 or 15 grams, which might have been sufficient in your younger years, is no longer enough to trigger a robust muscle-building response. It simply doesn't meet the required threshold. To overcome this anabolic resistance, older adults need a larger dose of protein in a single meal to generate a strong enough signal. The scientific consensus suggests that a dose of approximately 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein is necessary to maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis in an older adult. And critically, this protein must be rich in a specific amino acid called leucine. Leucine is what we call a branched-chain amino acid, and it functions as the primary trigger, the specific key that turns the ignition for muscle growth. When leucine levels rise sufficiently in your bloodstream after a meal, it directly activates a cellular pathway known as mTOR. Think of mTOR as the foreman of a construction site within your muscle cell. When mTOR receives the strong signal from leucine, it immediately mobilizes the workers, the cellular machinery, to begin assembling amino acids into new muscle protein. Without a sufficient leucine signal, the construction crew remains idle, no matter how many other building materials or other amino acids are available. This is why the composition of your breakfast protein is just as important as the quantity. 3 whole eggs, for instance, combined with a scoop of high-quality whey protein powder, will easily provide you with over 30 grams of protein and, crucially, about 3 grams of leucine, which is enough to fully activate that mTOR pathway and shift your body into an anabolic, muscle-building state for several hours. Another excellent option is a large serving of full-fat Greek yogurt, which is strained and therefore much higher in protein than regular yogurt, mixed with nuts and chia seeds. This combination approaches that critical anabolic threshold while also providing healthy fats and fiber. This single shift, prioritizing a sufficient dose of leucine-rich protein at your first meal, is the most powerful initial step you can take. It directly counteracts the physiological challenges of aging muscle and can begin to restore strength and function faster than most people believe possible. Now that we have established the absolute necessity of meeting a specific protein threshold in the morning, we must address the hormonal environment that allows this protein to do its job effectively. It is not enough to simply supply the building blocks for muscle. You must also ensure that the body's internal signaling is optimized for growth and repair, not for storage and decline. The most powerful hormonal lever you can control with your breakfast is insulin. Most people associate insulin solely with diabetes, but its role is far more fundamental. Insulin is one of the body's most potent anabolic hormones, meaning it is a hormone of storage and growth. When you eat, your blood sugar rises, and your pancreas releases insulin to shuttle that sugar or glucose out of the bloodstream and into your cells for energy. This is a normal and necessary process. The problem, particularly for an aging body, arises from the type of food that triggers the insulin response. When you consume a breakfast composed primarily of refined carbohydrates, cereal, bagels, muffins, sweetened yogurts, or fruit juice, you create a rapid and dramatic spike in your blood sugar. Your pancreas responds by releasing a large surge of insulin to manage this sudden glucose flood. This large insulin surge does several things that are counterproductive to fighting sarcopenia. First, it is an extremely efficient signal for your body to store energy as fat. When insulin levels are high, your body's fat-burning mechanisms are effectively switched off. The body is in storage mode, not burning mode. Second, and just as critically, chronic exposure to high levels of insulin leads to a condition called insulin resistance. This is a parallel concept to the anabolic resistance we discussed with protein. Your cells, including your muscle cells, become desensitized to insulin signal. They stop responding efficiently. This means your pancreas has to work even harder, pumping out even more insulin to get the same job done. This vicious cycle is a direct pathway to type 2 diabetes, but long before that diagnosis, it is already wreaking havoc on your muscles. When your muscle cells become insulin resistant, they struggle to take in the very glucose and amino acids they need for energy and repair. So, even if you eat enough protein, an environment of high insulin and insulin resistance prevents those nutrients from being effectively utilized by the muscle tissue. The traffic cop, insulin, is so busy directing all the sugar into fat storage that the delivery trucks carrying building materials for your muscles are left waiting in traffic, unable to reach their destination. What you eat at 8 in the morning dictates this hormonal environment for the majority of your day. The solution is to build a breakfast that elicits a controlled, moderate insulin response, not a dramatic spike. This is achieved by shifting the balance of your meal away from high glycemic carbohydrates and towards protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Protein itself elicits a very minimal insulin response. Healthy fats, such as those found in avocado, nuts, and seeds, have virtually no impact on insulin and are very effective at promoting satiety, keeping you feeling full and preventing cravings for sugar later in the day. Fiber from sources like leafy greens, chia seeds, or flax seeds is indigestible and works to slow down the absorption of any glucose in the meal, preventing a sharp spike in blood sugar. By constructing your breakfast around these three components, you create a hormonal environment that is conducive to muscle health. Your insulin levels remain stable, your cells remain sensitive to its signals, your fat-burning pathways remain open, and your muscles are able to efficiently absorb the amino acids from your protein. For example, instead of toast with jam, consider an omelet with spinach and avocado. Instead of a bowl of sweetened oatmeal, consider a bowl of Greek yogurt with walnuts and a handful of berries. The berries provide beneficial nutrients, but when paired with the protein, fat, and fiber from the yogurt and nuts, their natural sugars are absorbed slowly and do not cause a problematic surge in blood sugar. This strategic approach to managing your morning insulin response is a critical second layer in our fight against sarcopenia. Beyond the hormonal picture, we must also address the pervasive issue of chronic low-grade inflammation. As we age, our immune systems can become dysregulated, leading to a state of constant, simmering inflammation throughout the body. Scientists even have a term for this: inflammaging. This is not the acute, helpful inflammation you experience when you cut your finger. This is a silent, systemic process that quietly erodes your health and is a hidden accelerator of muscle loss. High levels of inflammatory signaling molecules, called cytokines, directly interfere with the muscle-building process. They disrupt the mTOR pathway that we discussed earlier and can even actively promote the breakdown of existing muscle tissue. It is like trying to build a house during a constant low-grade storm. Even with the best materials and a ready crew, the disruptive environment slows down and damages the construction process. Simply eating more protein is not enough if you do not also take steps to quell this underlying inflammation. Fortunately, your breakfast can be a potent anti-inflammatory tool. One of the most powerful food components for this purpose is omega-3 fatty acids, found abundantly in fatty fish like salmon, as well as in chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. Omega-3s are incorporated into your cell membranes and help produce compounds that actively resolve inflammation. They also appear to increase the muscle's sensitivity to protein, making your breakfast even more effective. Adding a side of smoked salmon to your eggs or blending flax seeds into a protein smoothie are simple, powerful ways to increase your omega-3 intake. Furthermore, The colorful pigments in plants, such as the deep blues and purples in berries or the dark green in spinach, are powerful antioxidants. These compounds help neutralize oxidative stress, a form of cellular damage that contributes to inflammation within the muscle itself. Spices like turmeric, which contains the active compound curcumin, are also exceptionally potent natural anti-inflammatory agents. Adding turmeric and a pinch of black pepper, which enhances its absorption, to your scrambled eggs is a simple habit that changes the biochemical environment in your body. By combining a high-protein, low-glycemic breakfast with these anti-inflammatory foods, you are not just providing building blocks. You are creating the optimal internal environment for those blocks to be used effectively, calming the storm so that true rebuilding can finally begin. Having addressed the foundational requirements of protein and the crucial hormonal and inflammatory environment, we must now turn our attention to the very source of energy within your muscles. The strength of your legs is not determined solely by the size of your muscle fibers. It is equally dependent on the health and number of the microscopic power plants inside those fibers. I am talking about the mitochondria. Mitochondria are the organelles within your cells responsible for producing adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which is the chemical energy that fuels every single muscle contraction, from blinking your eye to climbing a flight of stairs. When your mitochondria are abundant and functioning efficiently, your muscles have the energy they need to perform. Your legs feel strong and resilient. However, one of the hallmarks of the aging process is a decline in both the number and the efficiency of our mitochondria. This mitochondrial dysfunction is a primary driver of the fatigue, low endurance, and difficulty with exertion that so many people experience as they get older. It is a core component of sarcopenia. Even if you provide the muscle with all the right building blocks, if its power plants are old and failing, it will not have the energy to function properly. The exciting reality is that we are not passive victims of this decline. We can actively stimulate the creation of new, healthy mitochondria through a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. Your breakfast can play a direct role in stimulating this renewal process. Certain nutrients and plant compounds have been shown to activate the key genetic pathways that signal your cells to build more power plants. Among the most potent of these are compounds called polyphenols, which are found in a variety of plant foods. The polyphenols in blueberries, pomegranates, and even green tea have been shown to stimulate a master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis, known as PGC1-alpha. When this pathway is activated, your muscle cells receive the signal to build new, more efficient mitochondria. This is why incorporating a handful of blueberries into your yogurt or smoothie, or choosing to drink green tea with your breakfast, is more than just a healthy habit. It is a strategic intervention to rebuild your muscles' energy supply from the inside out. Furthermore, certain nutrients are essential for the mitochondria to function correctly. Coenzyme Q10, found in foods like fatty fish and organ meats, is a critical component of the energy production chain within the mitochondria. L-carnitine, another important compound, acts like a shuttle service, transporting fatty acids into the mitochondria to be burned for fuel. By ensuring your diet contains these supportive nutrients, you are not only helping to build new power plants, but also providing them with the high-quality fuel and maintenance they need to run efficiently. This focus on cellular energy is the missing piece for many people. It explains why someone might be eating enough protein, but still feel a profound sense of weakness and fatigue. By fueling your mitochondria, you are directly addressing the energy deficit that defines sarcopenia. Finally, we must integrate all these nutritional strategies with the two remaining pillars of success: timing and movement. The timing of your breakfast is not a minor detail. It is governed by your body's innate biological clock, the circadian rhythm. This internal clock regulates nearly all of our physiological processes, including hormone release, metabolism, and digestion, on a roughly 24-hour cycle. In the morning, your body is biologically primed for activity and nutrient uptake. Your cortisol levels are naturally at their peak, which helps to mobilize energy, and your insulin sensitivity is at its highest. This creates a perfect window of opportunity. Consuming your high-protein, nutrient-dense breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking up allows you to take full advantage of this natural rhythm. You are supplying nutrients at the exact time your muscle cells are most receptive to them. Conversely, skipping breakfast or delaying protein intake until later in the day works against your biology. You miss that peak window of anabolic potential, and as the day progresses, your insulin sensitivity naturally declines. This is why the same meal eaten at 8 in the evening is more likely to contribute to fat storage than the one eaten at 8 in the morning. Front-loading your protein intake, making breakfast the most protein-rich meal of the day, is a strategy that aligns perfectly with your body's natural design. The last, and perhaps most crucial element, is the synergy between this powerful breakfast and physical movement. Nutrition provides the raw materials, but movement provides the demand signal. It is the catalyst that tells your body where to send those building blocks. You do not need to engage in an exhaustive, high-intensity workout. Simple, targeted resistance exercise, performed within a few hours of your breakfast, is enough to dramatically amplify the muscle-building effect. When you perform an activity like a bodyweight squat, simply standing up from a chair and sitting back down without using your hands, you create mechanical tension in your quadriceps and glutes. This tension is a powerful signal that directs the amino acids circulating in your bloodstream from your breakfast directly to those muscles to begin the repair and strengthening process. Think of protein as the bricks and movement as the construction crew that directs where those bricks should be laid to build a stronger wall. A short walk after your meal can also be incredibly beneficial. It helps to further stabilize blood sugar and increases circulation, enhancing the delivery of nutrients to your muscles. This combination of the right food at the right time, paired with the right kind of movement, creates a powerful synergistic effect that can generate noticeable improvements in leg strength and energy levels remarkably quickly. What this all means is that you are in control. The weakness you feel is not a life sentence. It is a physiological state that can be changed. By implementing these principles, by starting your day with a breakfast that delivers at least 25 to 30 grams of leucine-rich protein, that stabilizes your blood sugar, that fights inflammation, that fuels your mitochondria, and by pairing this meal with gentle movement, you can take decisive action. You can halt the progression of sarcopenia and begin to rebuild the strong, resilient body that will allow you to maintain your independence and live with vitality for years to come. The process starts tomorrow morning.